The story of a girl who wakes up inside a moving carriage, realizing she had dozed off at the worst possible moment. I can't believe I fell asleep at a time like this, no matter how tired I was. Oh well, I guess there's nothing else I can do. It's possible that that's where I'll die today. 1 week earlier. A man shouted no. But Anna shouted, "Why don't you just send me off to live with beggars? This is abhorrent. How can you sell me to a lowborn ignoramus? Haven't you heard the rumors about him, father?" But her father responded, "But you know as well as I do, what would happen if we didn't obey an order from the king himself?" The kingdom of Earlswald had been a land of abundance, with fertile soil. But the late King Duquesne III, a lecherous and merciless tyrant, neglected his duty to his kingdom and instead lusted after every woman of the palace, including the wives and relatives of his vassals. As a result, the lands became barren and the resentment of the people intensified. This eventually led to a violent uprising headed by the present King Caden. After fierce battles, the rebels succeeded in taking the castle and killed the king, as well as Queen Cecil and Crown Prince Eden. Caden, who had spearheaded the rebellion, became the new king of Earlswald. And to everyone's surprise, he ennobled a peasant knight to no less a rank than duke. That knight was Eli, the hero of the war. Eli was Caden's right-hand man in every sense. He was all over the battleground, fighting to protect Caden right by his side. He showed no mercy to the enemy, regardless of gender and age. His atrocious cruelty and overwhelming strength made people, enemies and allies alike, tremble in fear. Anna shouted, "What would happen? It'd be nothing more than losing some wealth. And why am I the one to sacrifice? I'm not your only daughter." But her father replied in anger, "This isn't as simple as you think. As you know, our family stayed on the side of Duquesne III until the very end of the war. Now that Caden has taken power, it wouldn't have been strange at all had he decided to purge us all. But he kept us alive. If we disobey him now, our whole family will surely be wiped out. Besides, your sisters are not even 10 years old yet. I don't want to send you either, Anna. But I have no other choice. Please reconsider and accept your fate. Think of the future of our family as the eldest daughter." Anna shouted with teary-eyed, "Father, how can you do this to me? You're determined to send me to that crude monster, aren't you? What's so precious about this land, this stupid old castle? Aren't you supposed to save your daughter even if it costs you everything you have?" Her father shouted, "Enough, Anna." Shut, but suddenly he noticed, "What, a maid? I didn't notice her come in. Later, I should make sure her lips are sealed." Anna said while she's crying, "Father, I'd rather die than marry him. I'd die again and again if I had to." Anna's father thought and chuckled in an evil tone. "All right. Don't do it then." Anna, surprised, "Really? Do you really mean that, father?" He replied, "Of course I do. I don't want my precious daughter marrying a lowly peasant either." He stepped forward, grabbed her hand, and pulled her in front of Anna. Then he chuckled, "We'll send this girl. Take her to the convent. Have her learn proper manners there for a week. And after that, we'll dress her up like you and send her off to Eli." But Anna said in disbelief, "But my dear, won't that be too risky? What if he finds out?" He replied gently, "It'll be fine. We'll pretend that our daughter Anna has been stricken by a sudden serious illness. And if Eli finds out, we can just blame the girl, who we'll say is my illegitimate child that we had sent to inform him of Anna's illness, by claiming that she took advantage of the situation to better her social status. If she tries to run away or tell anyone about this, we'll just kill her." Anna said, "Father, trust me with teaching her manners and etiquette. There's not much time, but I'll make it work." Anna slaps her and shouted, "Stupid girl. How many times do I have to tell you not to rush for the food? Even a pig rolling in its sty would be smarter than you. Don't act timid either. A viscount's daughter would never worry about what other people might think. Listen, who do you think will have it the worst if Eli finds out? It's you. As soon as he finds out, that monster will rip you to pieces and hang them on the ramparts. So do your best if you want to live. If you don't hold out long enough, it'll put me in a very awkward situation too. Also, even though he's of low birth, he's now a duke. If you succeed in deceiving him, you can live as a duchess. That's an unthinkable rise of status for someone like you. And you won't get whipped anymore for running around trying to hide from lecherous knights every night. Edna thought, yes. Living here as a servant is already like hell anyway. Maybe this is my chance to get out of this place, even if that place turns out to be another hell. I guess that spurred her motivation. I'm even using salve on my face to look sick. I won't have that worthless girl ruin everything. Surely, a maid is more than enough for a peasant like Eli. Caden ordered me to marry Eli because he's never met me before. If he had seen me even once, he would have instantly realized it. That I'm destined to be queen. Eli exhaling, man, I wasn't even serious about getting married. I should have known Caden would jump on the idea. A title, a dominion, and now a bride. He's really determined to tie me to this land. Damn it. A wife is nothing but a headache. Carriage driver said, "We're here, miss." Edna surprised, "Oh. Yes, sir. I mean, okay, thanks. I'll be right, you." But her inner thoughts, getting out by herself without being escorted is an uncivilized thing to do. Just wait in the carriage. Oh yeah, I should wait. Eli was thinking, why isn't she coming out? Wait, is she saying I should come and get her? He chuckled, huh? Who does she think she is? Edna thinking, how long should I wait before I get out? Oh, there he is. Eli came and opened the door, raised his hand towards Edna, and she got out from the carriage. I didn't know she was this tall. She seemed rather petite when I saw her before. I'm being punished for shooting my mouth off at the time. Oh well, an order is an order. Then he said to her, we'll have a simple wedding tomorrow. You must be tired from the trip. Take a bath first, and Edna surprisingly asked to bath. Eli replied, yes. I'm sure the servants have it ready. They came into the castle. Eli said, here, the lighted room on the left is yours. Get some rest. Okay then. While he was going, Edna thought, oh, he's leaving. Edna entered and looked around. A bath, while Eli was on the bed thinking her scent. It was strange. The scent of a woman's body. The past 3 years I spent on the battleground. I was buried in the stench of blood and forgot what that was like. After a while, he entered Edna's room. Edna looked at him and was scared. He leaned with the door. Edna asked, are you just gonna stand there all night? Eli asked, what about you? Edna, surprised, what are you going to keep standing there like that? He chuckled, I'm sorry, but I'm a lowly peasant with no regard for gentlemanly conduct. Still, I have no intention of withdrawing from this room. So, you'd better give in and take your clothes off. Edna asked with anger, what do I do? You said, the wedding was tomorrow. Can't you wait just one day? Regardless of your past, you're now a duke. But her thoughts, of course, I knew this was part of it. Since I was sent to be his wife, there'd be no escaping this kind of demand. But the bridal night should be after the wedding. This is too sudden. Please have some sense of decency. Eli chuckled, huh? That's ridiculous. Today, tomorrow, what difference does that make? Stop being headstrong. Disrobe. Edna, crying, please. Eli said, when I first saw you at the palace, I thought you were stunning. I can't wait to see whether your body is just as gorgeous. To hear this, Edna's eyes widened. She thought, no. No. What? That means Eli knows what Anna looks like. What now? What do I do? If I get caught right now, is that it for me? She remembers Anna saying, if, by any chance, Eli finds out, this is what you should say. I couldn't come because I came down with a virulent disease, and since all of my sisters were too young, there was no other choice but for you, an illegitimate child, to come. Rumors of me having gotten sick at the convent are already spreading. So, there wouldn't be anything much Eli could do even if he told the king. I guess he'd probably take it out on you one way or another. But this way, you'd have a better chance of surviving than taking all of the blame on yourself, wouldn't you? Edna shouted, not Anna. Eli shouted, what? He grabbed her veil from her face. You're right. You're not Anna. Who are you? Edna said in confusion. I'm Viscount William's illegitimate daughter, Edna. I didn't mean to deceive you, but Anna's critically ill, so I was obliged to come instead. Eli chuckled, didn't mean to deceive, you said? Coming here in a wedding dress, with your face covered with a veil, too? Unbelievable. All right, I give you that it was very noble of you to sacrifice yourself. Nonetheless, he grabbed her face and said, it was a terrible choice, Edna. I'm sure you've heard the rumors about me. Weren't you afraid? Edna replied in confidence. Those rumors were meaningless to me. I had no other choice anyway. Eli thought this girl, she's keeping herself, surprisingly calm despite the situation. Does that mean she was ready for this? He asked you. Are you a virgin? A peasant like myself marrying a noblewoman was an absurd idea anyway. A bastard could be a much better match. Your face isn't half bad, either. I like it just as much as Anna's. Edna blushed as saying, if I'm a virgin, then, will you accept me? Eli chuckled, accept you? As my wife? Or for my nightly pleasure? Edna said in anger, both. I want to live if I can. There's nothing I fear more in the world than death. So answer me. If I'm a virgin, will you accept me? Or will you kill me? Eli said in soft tone, I don't like the way you talk. But still, it's a lot more amusing than a load of crap about how you'd rather die. Edna thought, yes, I will survive. No matter what. I must. The next morning, Edna woke up, tied her hair, exhaled, and looked towards the window. After a moment, light fell on Eli's eyes. My eyes, damn it. Who the hell left the curtains drawn? I can't sleep because of the sunlight. Suddenly his eyes widened. Wait, drawn curtains. He looked around, his clothes, shoes, and sword all in place. He gritted his teeth. What the? Who dared to come into my room? There are only a handful of servants left in the castle. I can't imagine any of those wimps had the guts to do this. HM? He recalls, answer me. That girl, I didn't think she'd really be a virgin. I had no doubt she was lying. I treated her too roughly based on that assumption. Hasn't she come out of her room yet? Well, I'm sure when she's read. Suddenly his steps stopped. Lo and behold, I thought she'd still be in bed, crying her eyes out. She's quite a character. This is odd. I thought the king's order was for me to take a wife. The Viscount must have been confused and sent me a maid instead. Wouldn't you say? Huh. Anyway, this is utter disrespect for me on his part, sending you dressed in such rags. I hope that's not what you're wearing to our wedding. You tore off the dress I was supposed to wear at the wedding. Are you talking back to me? I thought I made it clear yesterday that I didn't like that way of talking. Edna asked, what then? Should I ignore you? Eli thought I already knew it yesterday, but she's definitely something else. She's like a lion cub with all her claws out. He says when we go to the village, we should get you a new dress first. You can't get married in a torn dress. And the one you have on right now is even worse. Edna, surprisingly, asked why. Eli said, why what? I promised you yesterday. Edna said in a sad mood, but that's my problem. If you marry me, you'll be slighting the king. I don't know why you'd take such a risk. To Eli clearly said, first of all, I wasn't serious about wanting to marry Anna. I made a joke 'cause she had a pretty face. And what the king wants is for me to marry and settle down. He won't care if it isn't with Anna. Lastly, I'm a man of my word. I do what I say. HM? You, Eli, noticing her face, your face, it's a bruise. Did they beat you 'cause you're a bastard? Edna shouted, it wasn't like that. And it's none of your business. Eli asked, are you ashamed that you were beaten? You are one proud bastard, aren't you? Fine. From now on, at least in this castle, something like that will never happen. We should eat first. We should make haste. There's a lot to do today. Edna thought at that moment. I really looked at his face for the first time. A war hero, a death lord, a man-butcher. This brutal man who's called by numerous names, with golden hair that shines like the sun and gray eyes as cold as knives, stood there with a blasé look on his face, as if he didn't care about anything other than lunch. After a while, Edna and Eli were standing outside the castle. Eli rubbed his hand on the horse's neck, saying, easy, easy, easy. Edna thought, a horse. She asked, are we going on horseback? Eli replied, that's right. Edna chuckled, I see. Her inner thoughts, a horse. It's been so long, Eli thought. Huh? She's weirdly excited. He said, I'm sorry we're not going in a carriage. You must be disappointed that I don't even have a coachman. Edna, surprised, shouted, what? I didn't mean it that way, Eli replied, no? Fine then. Edna thought, her heart pounding, was that a joke? He's hard to read. She chuckled. Why are you just standing there? Eli raised his hand, saying we barely have enough time as it is. Take my hand. Edna gave her hand into his, and he pulled her towards himself and sat her in front of him. Edna exhaled. "Thank you for helping me up." Eli said, "Let's go." Eli ran off with the horse. Edna thought. I was surprised. Him pulling me up all of a sudden was startling, of course, but I really didn't expect he'd make a joke. I never imagined that there could be a gentle side to him. Every time I bump against the saddle, it brings back the painful feelings from last night. I wish we were going on separate horses. The force of the hooves on the ground, the vibrations running through my entire body, the smell of the air that wraps around my skin. If I could ride on, feeling all of that, the way I used to, maybe I'd be able to get there. Somewhere far away, where no one could find me. But when she looked at the houses in ruins, she was surprised. What happened? Until the war was over, Eli said, this land was left without any troops. While they were fighting in the war, lawbreakers pillaged the whole village. He thought, but even so, this is a lot worse than I imagined. It doesn't seem like caring for the land now will yield anything, not even a blade of grass. Had I made a visit sooner, it wouldn't have become this bad. It doesn't seem like, he said, we'll find a dress in this village. Edna, surprised, oh. She stepped down, saying it's fine. I don't care about a dress, rumors murmuring, are they travelers? Why would anyone visit here? Help us, sir, please. The only thing I had for the last 3 days was a piece of bread, she thought once I stayed in this land. It was an affluent and beautiful village. This is my fault. Maybe not all of it, but I'm definitely responsible. I want to atone for my wrongs. I want to give back to these people. Eli said, until the war was over, this land was left unattended. He thought, there's definitely something about her. The way she got dismounted from the horse before, it's not something just anyone could have learned. There's an odd air of sophistication, intelligence, strength, and tone about her. It's just a hunch, but I've avoided countless dangers thanks to these hunches of mine. Should I try throwing her off? Eli said, my men will arrive a few days later. They went to find their family after we were stationed here. We must prepare for the winter in order to survive, but I haven't the slightest idea what I should do here. Edna asked, so then, Eli replied, however, I won't do anything for this land. Edna, surprised, what? Eli replied, I do not plan to wield my right as a lord in this land. And so I have no obligation to look after it either. Nevertheless, winter's on the way. I not only have my soldiers, but their families and you to worry about as well. I can't have all of you freezing in that castle, can I? Edna asked, well then, what do you plan to do? You said, Eli replied, I won't do anything myself. However, if you have any good ideas, you may do as you see fit, Edna. Edna looked surprised. She thought, I can. This man? Does he even know what he's saying? Letting me do as I please, meaning he will allow me to take any and all rights. If I have the right to do as I wish, that means I can help them. But a lowly maid like me shouldn't know how to help a run-down village. He might find out if I help them, Eli thought. Now, Edna. Show me what you're hiding. Edna thought, I'm dead if he finds out. There won't be a second chance. Still, I want to help them. Edna smiled as saying, when will we hold our wedding? Eli, surprised, wedding? With that dress of yours? Edna replied, I said I don't need a dress. I need justification. I need justification to act as the wife of a lord. Eli thought, those eyes again. It's odd when I gaze into those eyes. They look like the flames of a fire, like the light of the rising sun, or a star that burns brightly in the night sky. Ferocious, yet calm eyes. Very well. Those are the same eyes I saw that time. He leaned closer, raising his hand near her neck, and chuckled as thinking, although she fears me so, her eyes continue to burn. The more I know her, the more interesting she is. He said, fine. Edna surprised, what? He replied, let's go have the wedding right now. There must be at least one church in this barren land. I highly doubt they just rolled over and died with God's blessing. Edna thought, how vulgar. She raised her hand toward the sky. Is it going to rain soon? Eli said, they're here. Monk welcome. I welcome you, dear Lord. I am the head monk of this monastery. You may call me Noel. Eli said, The building's on the verge of collapse, and the monks are about to pass out. What's going on here? Monk Noel coughing is saying, it is punishment for our own sins. We have angered the heavens, and so they try us through hardship. Now, what brings a lord to this humble town? Eli gently said, we would like to have our wedding. We came to find someone who could officiate the ceremony. Well, that is, if you have the energy to speak. Of course I will compensate for a wedding mass, Eli thought. His question seems hostile. It's not like they ever cared before. They wouldn't even notice if the wind blew up there, Monk said, but if I offer my service for your wedding, despite being an old and feeble man, what will you do for our monastery in return? Eli asked, what will I do? Monk Noel replied, if you might allow us, we would like to collect money from the village to rebuild this monastery. After all, we are the servants of God, so we must be able to feed ourselves, wouldn't you agree? Eli raised his sword and cut at the father's face. Monks shouted, Father. Eli shouted, you want to collect money? In this town? I saw plenty of your kind on the battlefield. Those self-proclaimed disciples of God who ignored the bloody cries of the people and locked the doors to their monasteries. You want to collect money from the people instead of praying for an end to their pain? Right? What do you think I'll do? I said, what do you think I'll do for you lasses? Edna thought, it's true. After running away, I had nowhere to go. So I ran to a monastery first. But the monks turned me, a person who had nothing to offer, away. I ended up wandering the streets, then got captured by some ruffians and sold as a maid. Then, when Anna left for the monastery, they gladly offered her their best room. What a convenient faith. The alleys are full of starving children, yet they avert their eyes and seek gold. How can they call themselves disciples of God? But Edna tapped his hand as saying, please. Calm down, my lord. Everyone is starving after the extended war. No one can remain graceful under the strain of such hunger. She thought, the cardinal may seek out the culprit if a monk is killed. Even the king cannot stop an investigation ordered by the cardinal. She said again, they are servants to the heavens, my lord. Please, quiet your anger. Edna thought again, he probably doesn't intend to really kill them. There'd be nothing to gain from such a grave crime. Eli calmed down and kept the sword in its cover as saying, let's go. Edna relaxed as saying, are you all right? Monks replied, yes. Edna smiled as saying, for now, we shall send you some goods and supplies by tomorrow. I trust the monastery will distribute the goods equally to the townspeople. Monk chuckled. Think. Edna chuckled. I'm sure that God will be watching over you at all times, but please remember that we are also watching you right here. The Lord's sword is still pointing at your throat. You'll do well to remember that. After a while, the monk holding a book said, it's done. You are man and wife. Eli looked towards the sky as saying, the clouds don't look too good. Looks like it'll pour soon. Edna, we should hurry. Edna's scared, oh yes. They get out from the church and reach the horse. Edna turned, looked towards the ruined houses and thought, just wait, I will without fail restore this place. The horse ran off. Eli thought, the way she spoke back there, it wasn't something a mere maid could learn from peering over a noble's shoulder. It's not simply just knowing what to say. The tone of her voice, her posture, speech, facial expression, stare, would all require a considerably higher level of education. Having such dignity is, just who are you? Edna, the rain starts falling. Eli grumbled, whoa, it's coming down hard. It'll be too dangerous to keep riding like this. Let's get off for now. There's a cave nearby that hunters use. We should wait until the rain lightens up a bit. Edna blushed. All right. The rain started heavily. They entered into a tunnel. Eli rubbing the stones and lighting a fire, he said, I would have just ran back to the castle if I had been alone. How tedious. Edna blinked her eyes as saying, sorry, this is my fault. Then again, even if you had been alone, you could still fall off the horse. Eli sighed, you really can't let a single thing slip by, can you? Well, you're not wrong. Edna starts sneezing. Eli said gently, don't just sit there. Take off your clothes. Edna surprised, what? Eli replied, don't worry, I'm not trying to do anything. Luckily, bandits haven't pillaged this place yet. There are some blankets here, so we can keep warm while our clothes dry. Edna nervous said, but Eli interrupted her. I don't want to be a character in some tragedy about my wife dying of fever on our first night. Take them off yourself before I do it for you. Edna said with shameful eyes. Fine. I'll get undressed. Edna took off her clothes. Eli noticed whip scars. Is that why she didn't want to undress? He grabbed a cloth and gently ruffled it over Edna. Edna chuckled. Oh, thank you, Edna thought. Was he trying to make me feel better? For some reason, when I'm with him, I feel myself returning to the person I used to be. Full of pride, confident, and living a lie. I thought I had already let go of my past. Suddenly a voice echoed, on over there. Ha ha. Prince Eden. The late King Duquesne III was an unprecedented tyrant. He changed the governing laws as he wished, took women to his liking, and exploited the people. He would get bored easily, then abandon things, his queens being no exception. One queen had already lost her life, and the other was banished to her homeland. Then he welcomed his third queen, the royal princess of Beowald, Cecil. This woman was Edna's mother. Noble said, Prince Eden, did you see? There, in the garden, dear me, the roses are in full bloom. Not to mention winter's on its way. Isn't it incredible? Oswald's third queen, Cecil said, indeed, that is quite magnificent. The flowers must have mistaken the seasons after seeing the beauty of you ladies. Noblewoman hesitatingly said, Oh my, Prince Eden. Oswald's third queen, Cecil, lost her favor and good grace with the king as soon as she had been crowned. As she was neglected to live amongst the other mistresses, her life dangled by a thread as she passed the days in her quarters. The child in her womb was her last hope. Bearing a son who would be the sole heir to Duquesne III was the final chance she had to protect her safety and status. Cecil's eyes widened. It's a princess. The baby started crying. The moment Cecil held her daughter in her arms and felt the infant's warmth, she made up her mind. She said, You shall never speak of what you witnessed here today. On this day, I gave birth to a prince. Midwife surprised my queen. She decided to hide the truth about her child. The life of a royal daughter was truly boring and passive. No matter how smart or talented they might be, only a lovely and docile creature could be molded. Then that daughter would be married off to some perverted old man for the honor of her family. Cecil was thoroughly exhausted by such a life. Cecil thought, I will not allow you to live such a life. When that lunatic Duquesne III dies, this land will be yours to rule. That is the only hope you and I have for survival in this castle. You can blame me for being a selfish mother. Edna. And so began the life of Edna as Eden. The education of the prince was tightly managed under the queen's eye. Those days were tough and tiring, but Edna was a smart child. The child was also rather talented, thus carried out life as Eden with great ease. Then, 16 years went by. There were fighting of swordsmen. Someone shouted, The winner is Prince Eden. Edna grew up to be a gifted youth with no one who could rival her wit or strength. At the castle, Cecil asked, You won a duel against Sir Derek? Edna replied, Yes, I was fortunate. Her mother gently said, There's no need to be humble. He's a renowned knight best known for his skill in swordplay. If you've defeated such an opponent, your skills must be at such a level as well. However, you cannot win by strength alone. We must find a way to make up for that. Hopefully it will be covered with practice, but you're still. Although Cecil had not finished her sentence, Edna knew what her mother would say next, a woman. Edna's mother said, Don't forget, Edna. You're a woman and no one can ever know of that. Your true name is Edna, but no one may ever know you by that name. Someday you shall rule over this land as a woman. But everything will be over if your secret is revealed before that time. Your father would never forgive us. Understand? Edna replied, Yes, mother. That was something Edna had heard ever since she realized the difference between herself and other men. Edna never slept comfortably after that day. She would practice with a sword, study history, take lessons in diplomacy, walk the streets, eat her meals, even breathe. All the things she did to live as Eden were for Edna's sake, a desperate struggle to survive. Although she took medicine to hinder her growth as a woman, it still wasn't enough. Edna became more exhausted the more she tightened the bandages around her bosom, which continued to grow. Cecil gently said, recently, Duquesne III has fallen gravely ill. Rumors say that the syphilis has already spread to his mind. He won't last much longer. Edna asked, You mean? Cecil replied, Soon it will be time. You will be crowned king of this land. You will never serve as a man's doll. Although those had been Cecil's words all her life, Edna couldn't quite understand. The noble daughters who had obeyed the wishes of their families, and Edna who had become a prince as Cecil had wished, she couldn't grasp what was ever different between them. Edna replied, Yes, mother. A soldier said, Your Majesty, this is not a laughing matter. The resentful cries of the lords and people are spreading, even within the main city. Please, you must listen to their grief. But the emperor interrupted him, Ahahaha. What is it you fear so much? This city and castle are guarded by hundreds of knights who have pledged their loyalty to me. Even if a rebellion rises, just kill them all. Soldier dashing as shouted, Your Majesty. Urgent news. Emperor said, How dare you raise your voice in my presence? Soldier, pleading, Please forgive me. The matter is far too urgent well, there's a rebellion underway. Their leader is the second son of House McGregor, Caden McGregor. The winter of Edna's 16th year, a maid came to Cecil and said, Your Majesty. She whispered gossip in her ears. The war began. Edna came shouting, Mother, I shall fight as well. Her mother replied, You must not. Edna shouted, Mother. Cecil said gently, I've already sent a secret letter to Beowald. Reinforcements will arrive in 2 or 3 weeks. As soon as the soldiers arrive, we will return to Beowald. Even Caden won't be able to touch us once we've passed the border. We must plan our next move there. Edna surprised, You mean, you're telling me to flee? Cecil replied, Yes. Duquesne III no longer has any authority as king. My only hope is that he can hold out until our reinforcements arrive. There's no longer any hope in this city. You cannot die in a place like this. Eden. Edna clenched her fist as she thought, But mother, if I abandon my country and my people, what was the point of the last 15 years living as Eden? Eden. That was Edna's name as a prince. A perfect, idealistic prince sculpted by Queen Cecil. That was an essential question. Do I have a right to reclaim the throne after abandoning my own country? Will I be able to forgive myself for fleeing? If they were unable to return to Ulswald forever, and if Eden was no longer necessary for either herself or Cecil's survival, then what remained of Edna? Herself as Eden, and herself as Edna. They both felt foreign to her. And Edna couldn't help questioning it all. And so, time passed by, and Edna's 16th birthday arrived. A woman gently said, My sincere congratulations, Your Highness. We should open the palace gates and welcome all the citizens to celebrate this joyous day. I apologize for not being able to do so. Edna chuckled, Not to worry. I know we are not at liberty to do so. I am only grateful that you all have gathered here to celebrate with me despite these trying times. Times may be tough, but we shall win this fight together. Edna exhaled. Cecil asked, Tired? Edna replied, No, mother. I'm not tired, but the soldiers outside are risking their lives to guard the gate. While I am in here safe and sound, enjoying a banquet, it is hard to hold my head up from the shame. Cecil said, I see. Well, the important thing is that you know. A ruler must boast about from time to time. If we show weakness, the people will become fearful and lose faith in us. But if boasting is the only thing a ruler does, then one will fail as a ruler and destroy the land, just like your father. Always think of the people who follow you. Edna replied, Yes. I will keep that in mind. Edna shouted, Your Majesty. The emperor holding a bottle of wine said, Eden. My son. I was resting in my chamber when I heard news of your birthday. I couldn't just stay quiet as your father on such a day. Edna hesitated. Thank you, father. The emperor chuckled, Yes. Perhaps I shall give a speech since it's such a joyful day. Drinking wine, he said, My son. Do you hear the cries from afar? Do you hear the galloping hooves? They are closing in. The emperor chuckled. The day of your death is near. The day of your death is near. Duquesne III had grown madder by the day. Nobles murmuring, Did you hear? Apparently, Sir Edgar was executed after counseling the king yesterday. The siege has been going on for a month, yet the king hasn't visited the battlefield once. The morale of the soldiers is dwindling. It's true. The king didn't seem to have a single plan yesterday. He still seeks only women and alcohol every day without any concern for this rebellion. He doesn't seem interested in the people who have died for this war. The king has abandoned his duties as a leader. In the end, that's right. It would seem so. We can't rely on a rotting rope to save us, can we? A soldier saying, hey, go get some sleep. It's time to rotate. Other asked, oh, is it already that time? First soldier said, it's still a bit early. Just keep this a secret from the commander. Sure, thanks. We'll go ahead then, other replied. He's saying, sounds good. Leave the gates to us. A girl dashing open the door as she shouts, Your Majesty. Urgent news, Your Majesty. Cecil woke up and asked Ophelia, what are you yelling about at this hour? Ophelia shouted, the gates have been opened. The rebels are pouring into the palace. King Duquesne III has already been beheaded. The palace will soon be taken over. You must run now. Cecil grabbed her blanket. Beowald. Any news from Beowald yet? She thought, what? How can this be? They've abandoned me. Beowald has abandoned me. Is this the end of me? Enduring all this time just to fall like this, Ophelia said, Your Majesty, there's no time to lose. You must hurry and… Cecil interrupted her, where is Prince Eden? Ophelia forcing, Your Majesty. Cecil shouted, silence. I am the queen. Do you think they'll give up until they've seen me swinging by the throat? She thought, right, no royal will be able to avoid such a fate. Even Eden, but Edna's a different story. The only ones who know of Edna are me and Ophelia. I personally killed all the wet nurses and doctors who examined us. As long as Edna can escape out of the castle, she can live. Edna can survive. Cecil shouted, Edna. Edna's surprised mother. Cecil grabbed her hand and ordered, Edna, take off your clothes right away. Edna surprised, pardon? Mother. There's no time for this. You must hurry and escape through the hidden, Edna thought. She called me Edna. Even with all these people watching. Cecil replied, no, you are the only one who will escape. Edna. She commanded Sione. Give her your clothes. No one can continue on the same path once they grasp power. Edna, you must survive and watch what happens. Edna saying, Mother. Mother. But Cecil ignored her words as saying, watch how that bloody throne consumes Caden. Edna shouted, Mother, I. Mother gave her the clothes as saying, you must live on as a normal woman, outside of this castle, please. Edna gently said, yes, Mother. Cecil said, all right, Edna. Tonight, Eden dies here. They won't suspect anything if they see this sword of yours. Edna thought, what? You're cunning. You're quite cunning, Mother. Cecil thought, actually when I think about it now, you were never able to live your life as your own due to my ambition. I killed all those people and sacrificed you, all for something so worthless that would crumble in the end. I was such a fool. Cecil said, sorry for everything. Be happy, my child. She pushed Edna. Edna, while falling, shouted, Mother. No, Mother. Outside the room, Cecil commanded, Gil, hold this. She replied, yes, Your Majesty. Cecil saying to nobles and all of you, I'm sorry things have to end like this. I will gladly accept any punishment in hell. But no one must know that Edna is alive. She thought, this is my final selfish wish. You probably resent me, but I don't mind. When I felt that small warmth, at that moment, I vowed to protect you even if it cost 1,000 lives. Edna covered herself in a cloth. She was shivering. Eli, sitting beside her, noticed, is she having a nightmare? Edna suddenly woke up, stood on her hands, looked at the fire. Her eyes widened as she saw the flames, and she dashed forward shouting, don't leave me here. Take me with you. Let go of me. I need to be with them. Eli grabbed her hands and shouted, get a hold of yourself. Then he slapped her and said, wake up. Do you want to kill yourself in that fire? That's enough sleep talking. Edna, shocked, you slapped me. You said I never get beaten. He replied, looks like you're awake if you can talk back like that. Well, if you're up, get dressed. The rain stopped and our clothes are dry, so we should head back. If we linger around any longer, The sun will set, and we'll have to spend the night here. Hurry up. Edna, all right, she thought, sleep-talking. Even so, I tried to jump into that fire. You've grown weak, Edna. Even if it was an unconscious act to attempt killing myself, I must remember the screams that echoed from the other side of the wall that night. I mustn't forget the weight of the innocent lives that were sacrificed in order to save me. And the final wish my mother imparted to me, Eli, standing with Edna, said, "Good thing Raoul had dinner ready. I would have starved to death once I passed the castle gates. You must be tired after everything that happened today. Let's retire to our room now." Edna said, "Oh, very well. Then, I shall return to my room." Eli turned and asked, "What are you talking about?" Edna blushed. "Pardon?" He said, "Perhaps you've already forgotten, but we're married now." "My dear Duchess, are you suggesting we sleep in separate chambers our first night of marriage?" "I'd rather not." Edna, flustered, "Our first night, but we already spent last night," Eli said with a strange expression. "That's it then. We got married today, so none of that matters?" Edna shocked. It's just, Eli explained, "for your information, even if this was a forced marriage, I don't plan on being a husband only in name once we're married. You were the one who insisted on that condition. You would fulfill your duties as both wife and slave in exchange for the title of Duchess." Edna exhaled. "Very well. I'll bear with it. In turn, bear with it. You must honor your word about giving me all the rights." Eli chuckled. "Haha, no need to worry about that. I already called you my Duchess, Edna." At night, when they were together, Eli looked into Edna's eyes and thought, "Damn. For some reason, when I gaze into her eyes, I get dizzy and confused. Just who are you, Edna? Who are you to drive me so?" Eli sleeping with Edna at bed saying, "You shall sleep in my room from now on, regardless of whether I hold you or not. I'm sure you despise the idea of sharing a room with a lowly commoner like me, but you did say you'd bear with it." Edna turned and replied, "That's not. I had only meant that I would bear with the pain, because it was so painful when we first." Eli asked, "And tonight? Did it hurt this time?" Edna replied with a shy, "No, it didn't hurt this time." Edna thought, "That's right. Tonight wasn't painful. At morning, the sun rises." Edna removes the curtains from the window and looks at Eli, thinking, "Last night was strange. He wasn't rough with me at all. He was gentle and considerate, almost as if he was holding someone dear to him. I suppose that means I felt as though I was being loved as a woman. It's strange, this isn't the same helplessness I felt serving as a maid. I can still clearly feel my senses as Eden. Yet to think that way so naturally." She recalled her mother's words, "You must live on as a normal woman outside of this castle. A life as a normal woman. I dreamt of that life every day when I was Eden. But ever since I left the castle, I never imagined even once the heavy weight that came with surviving. Is it possible here? Eli gave me power and title as a duchess. And he clearly regards me as his wife. If I stay with him, I'll bear his child and grow to care for him and live on, and then, fool, don't get carried away. You made a promise, Edna, to restore what your father destroyed. The things that have crumbled away while my mother and I simply sat by dreaming and waiting for the throne." Eli's quick to catch on. He has good judgment, and he's a good observer. "The knowledge I'd need to incorporate in order to revive this land is far greater than what a mere viscount's maid would be able to learn in such a short time. Of course I'll be careful, but in the worst-case scenario, if my identity gets revealed, I'll be killed. I'm sorry, Mother. But ever since I escaped that day, after abandoning my name, title, country, and people, surviving has only brought more pain. I felt as if my lungs were burning with every breath I took. I could only hang on to that sliver of guilt, and my life had no meaning at all. But at last I found it. A reason for me to live on." Edna saying to her mother, "Are you telling me to flee?" Mother replied, "Yes. I won't run away this time. Even if it costs me my life, I will restore this land." Edna saying, "Raoul." Raoul came and asked, "Yes, my lady. Did you have a good night's sleep? What may I do for you at this early hour?" Edna said, "Stand up, please. There's no need for you to. I have a favor to ask." Edna thought, "It's the least I can do. to repay my sins. Raoul surprised, madam. I have prepared everything as you requested. Edna replied, thank you, Raoul. Well done. Raoul asked, but will this be all right? These are the supplies sent to the castle. To take them without first informing the Lord, Edna replied, it's fine. The Lord is already aware of this. While on the other side in the room, Eli woke up and was surprised to see nobody sleeping near him. He said again, I didn't sense that woman getting out of bed again, even when she was lying here right next to me. She even folded my clothes and took my sword, yet I still didn't notice? This doesn't make any sense. My body's still alert with the habits I developed during the war. Staying alert meant I couldn't let my senses dull even while I slept. There's no way I wouldn't wake up with someone moving around next to me. Well, that's if it was a normal person. He then noticed the murmured sounds and said, what's all the commotion? Outside, Edna stood with some people. Edna smiled and said, thank you all for coming. I'm sure the roads must be dangerous after that storm yesterday. So again, thank you for coming. The men can take the supplies here to the wagons for transport, and the women who have come for work, please follow Raoul to the kitchen. There are many to feed, so we'll need a lot of bread. The monk said, please, I do beg your pardon, my lady. Please forgive me, but even if you feed the hungry with the supplies from this castle, what will you do after that? As you very well know, we have no way of repaying you for these supplies. What I mean to say is, can you guarantee that the villagers will not be held hostage in return for these supplies? Edna noticed the monk's trembling hands and thought, this man, despite what he said yesterday, he must truly care for the people in this town. He witnessed Eli's wrath with his own eyes, yet he gathered the courage to speak up for these people. Edna chuckled and said, there's no need to worry. The Lord is aware that he was unable to take proper care of this land due to the prolonged war. He knows very well that you suffered from pillaging. That is precisely why we have personally summoned you to this castle. It would be fine to distribute the supplies through the monastery, but I thought it better to show the Lord's determination to all of you in person this way. The Lord shall decide what will happen from now on, so at the very least, do not worry about taking these supplies with you today. It is the duty of a lord to watch over his land. Eli, standing behind Edna and listening to all of this, thought, so she's using my title for this, and she can even smile like that. Duke said, excellent work emptying the stores, and so early in the morning. What a diligent wife I have. You're already hard at work the moment after we held our wedding. Aren't you too much? Edna replied, my apologies. Were we being too loud? I did not wish to wake you. Duke said, oh well, the noise was more than enough to wake all the people in the next town over. Edna responded, e.g. Duke continued, by the way, I'm sure I gave you authority only yesterday. Did you already manage to take stock of all our supplies? My, oh my, how swift indeed. Edna replied, yes, Raoul assisted me, so, Edna thought, that look, I'm used to that sort of gaze, judging me, inspecting every inch. Eli is suspicious of me. I expected this, but this is much earlier than I would have wanted. More importantly, the people were finally gaining faith and now they're frightened. I have to put an end to this situation for now. Edna said, Raoul's in the kitchen. You must be hungry. I'll send word to have your breakfast brought to you right away. Duke thought, what's this? The people who looked anxious seem relieved now that they've heard Edna. Yesterday, they were consumed by despair, wallowing in disappointment and resignation. They know I've abandoned this land until now. They know their lord doesn't care even after witnessing firsthand the devastation in their town. But now, they're relying on Edna even though she only just became duchess yesterday. However little they trust her, I'm curious. Back then, and then as well, and again this morning, even now. Edna has been here for less than a week, and each day has been full of mysteries. I want to know. I want to know who you truly are. Edna said, Eli. Duke said, what are you all doing? Don't just stand there. Do what the lady has ordered you to do. If he lays around, I'll shut the gates. The people said, yeah, as you wish, good sir. Edna thought, those poor people, they're terrified. Why would he do something like that all of a sudden? Did I do something to confirm his assumptions? I'm sensing a sort of newfound confidence coming from him. That's Eli's room. Is he going to test his theory in there? This isn't good, I can feel it. I'm the one who will be tested in that room. No, I can't end things here. Please help me, mother. Raoul thought. Hello there. I am a servant in this castle, Raoul. And here is the lord I serve. This is Duke Eli, the lord of this castle. He isn't the first lord I've served since I started working here at this castle. However, Duke Eli is a bit different from the other nobles. Of course, he's also of a different bloodline, but more than that, his eyes are different. As expected of a hero from the battlefield, the air around him is different. When I first met him, I was so frightened I barely managed to introduce myself. And the lady who just married him yesterday is an odd one as well. Normally, a daughter from a noble family is full of pride, picky, and doesn't care about what their servants have to do. But the lady will help when there aren't enough people and has already managed to understand the state of this land, then distributed supplies right away. She's quite odd and she's very kind. The people whispered among themselves. One person asked, "Is something the matter?" Another replied, "Perhaps the Lord is against distributing these goods." Then what should we do? Will the Duchess be all right? Suddenly, Edna screamed, "Ka!" Duke shouted, "Are you really just some bastard maid?" Edna thought, "Stay calm. If I say a single wrong word, it will be the end of me. He will only grow more suspicious if I try to make hasty excuses." Duke thought, this woman isn't just good at talking. What's more important for building trust than words is attitude. Sometimes threatening and sometimes gentle. She knows how to lead people. You are not just some maid. So now reveal yourself, Edna. Edna said, "Is that so important right now?" Duke asked, "What?" Edna replied, "Was that so important that you had to drag me in here in front of all those people? You must know the people in town fear you. Even if you don't want to, we'll have to give out our supplies for a while, at least until they can put aside their fear and regain their faith in you." Edna thought, now here's the important part. A truth within a lie. That's the hardest thing to catch. What I need now, Edna said, "You asked if I'm really just some bastard maid. Very well. Perhaps I wasn't a bastard back in that castle, because I was merely a maid." Duke said, "Is that the truth?" Edna continued, "I would get beaten because I wasn't used to working, and I had to flee from the soldiers who tried to hold me every night. When I'd get beaten after being found, no one in that castle would help me. For a lowly, hopeless girl like me, that was the only sort of life I was given. So that is why I want to help the people in this town, the pain, the starvation, and the endless despair. I know them all firsthand. But if you suspect me because of that, do as you wish. I am your wife and your duchess. But you are the one who gave all of that to me, so please, do as you wish." Duke smirked and replied, "Huh. Did you think I'd be moved by your spirit if he yielded this way? Don't you already know what kind of person I am? I've beheaded countless people with this sword. You think I'll hesitate even for a second to cut off your head? Therefore, please do as you wish," Edna answered calmly. "I have nothing more to say. If you still suspect me even after that, then I have no other way to prove myself. You hold the sword, and all I can do is trust your judgment." "Blast you," Duke roared. "There should be a limit to how stubborn you can be." Edna flinched and gasped. Let me see," Duke said, stepping closer. "I'm all right," Edna replied softly. "It's not a large wound." "It's not large, but neither is it small," Duke responded sternly. "I always sharpen my sword. TSK, we have to stop the bleeding. I'll bring Raoul here, so continue applying pressure to the wound." Edna thought to herself, he's changing the subject. It wasn't the best tactic, but I'll be safe for now. "Oh, and, could you bring me a change of clothes on your way back?" Edna asked hesitantly. "Huh, seriously?" Duke scoffed. Then under his breath, he muttered, "I must be mad to follow her orders." Edna's voice echoed in his mind, "Because I was merely a maid. That is why I want to help the people in this town." Duke shook his head and said, "Honestly, I've gone mad." Raoul, are you in here?" Raoul rushed in startled. "Oh dear, my lord, is there something you need?" "Edna has been injured," Duke said, his tone sharp. "What? Dear heavens, what happened to the lady?" Raoul exclaimed in shock. "Enough with all the useless questions," Duke barked. "She needs treatment. Come to my room with medicine and bandages." Yes, right away," Raoul stammered before running off. Duke thought to himself, pathetic. "I swore that if I ever took a wife, I wouldn't let her suffer the way my mother had. At this rate, I'm no different from my father. You are back, Edna said softly as Duke returned. How's your wound? Duke asked immediately. Raoul treated it well. She just left. Didn't you see her leaving? Edna replied. I did, Duke said, then added with a faint smirk. She could probably kill someone with that glare. Oh my, Raoul murmured under her breath as she left. Here, your clothes, Duke said, handing her the garments. Thank you, Edna said, accepting them gratefully. You should stay in that for a while, Duke advised. I've sent all of your 100-year-old dresses to the tailor. Thank you, Edna replied softly. Duke thought to himself, Edna's identity will be revealed sooner or later, but I doubt Caden will mind. He just wants me to stay, and I'm the same. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious about who Edna really is. But whoever she is, I don't care anymore, Duke said. In battle, the one who draws his sword first wins. Perhaps I've spent too much time in battle. I was too hasty earlier. I'm sorry, Edna thought to herself. To think he'd apologize to me. I thought he wouldn't even blink if my head fell to the ground. He's full of surprises. Raoul, Edna called out. I need to ask you something. Raoul rushed in. My lady, are you feeling better now? Yes, all thanks to you, Edna replied warmly. I heard you were upset and glared at the Lord for me. Raoul stammered. What? How did you? He told me himself, Edna said with a faint smile. As you know, he has a keen sense of observation. Oh dear, please forgive me, Raoul exclaimed, bowing her head. I dared to do such a thing to a high, respectable noble. Please, there's no need for that, Raoul, Edna said gently. Neither the Lord nor I have any problem with that. Pardon? But Raoul began. It's true, Edna reassured her. The Lord wouldn't hold a grudge over something like that. He admitted his mistake to me as well and even apologized, Raoul said in disbelief. He's a kind man, Edna said softly. Madam, Raoul whispered, moved. Well, at least more so than he seems to be, Edna added with a little laugh. Plus, you were just worried about me. I was so touched. My lady, Raoul said emotionally. By the way, Edna continued, I haven't seen the Lord around here today. Do you know where he is, Raoul? Oh, he left saying he had some errands to take care of in the town, Raoul replied. I see. Oh, well. Edna paused then asked. Then Raoul, would you happen to know about the Lord's men who will be returning to this castle? Yes, madam, Raoul nodded. How are the preparations for welcoming them going? Edna asked. Very well. The Lord instructed that we simply clear out the hall. So, we've done just that, Raoul explained. Only the hall? Edna questioned. It will be winter soon. Will their families all live in the hall as well? Edna thought to herself. That's right. I forgot. Originally, only the Lord and his family were allowed to have their own rooms in their castle. The servants and soldiers normally find a place to stay in a nearby town or set up camp somewhere outside of the castle. But right now, the town doesn't have a proper inn to speak of. There aren't enough supplies nor men to help set up a camp either. Right. It might be better for them to stay in the hall. Still, if he even had them bring their families here, they can't be just any soldiers or servants. If Eli was the one watching Kadant's back, then there must have been those who watched Eli's back as well. If they're his comrades, who he trusted to have his back during that long war, I'm sure he must. Raoul, please clean the rooms so that the Lord's soldiers can stay in them, Edna ordered. Raoul hesitated. I beg your pardon, but the Lord, don't worry, I'll talk to him, Edna assured her. Winter will be here in 2 months, and I'm sure there will be women among the families. It will be much too harsh for them to live in the halls. My lady, Raoul thought deeply touched. Very well. I understand, Raoul said with determination. Just leave it to me. I'll make those rooms so clean they'll shine. I have faith in you, Raoul, Edna said with a smile. Then Edna swayed slightly, thinking to herself. I feel a bit dizzy. The Duke told the servant to deliver a letter to the king. The servant seemed hesitant and asked, my lord, wasn't that? The Duke replied that since he got married as ordered, he needed to report it. He wondered if this would be all right, mentioning that Tommy was a good writer, but had never been a messenger before. Still, he thought nothing could go wrong. Tommy only had to say his name at the city gate and deliver the letter. The servant understood and nodded. The Duke thought to himself about how pitiful this town was. It didn't even have a proper messenger to deliver a letter. Westfield was a large territory within Oswald, and if a town so close to the castle was in such ruin, the ones further away must be in an even worse state. He found it troublesome. He remembered the town head mentioning that the river floods every rainy season. Last time the rain stopped quickly, but there was no guarantee it would happen again. He decided that the river banks needed to be reinforced before the heavy rains arrived. He also had to rebuild the patrol forces that deserted when the castle was empty and find trustworthy people to restore the administration. He predicted that tomorrow morning or the morning after, people from other towns would gather once they heard the rumors. He thought about which crops could be cultivated quickly and distributed first. Artisans would also be needed to build more facilities. To plan properly, he needed to look at a map of the territory. He felt frustrated. How did he end up in this position? They had already distributed supplies once, and he couldn't just sit back and do nothing like before. Stopping the distribution would cause complaints from other towns. Cadden was going to love this situation, he thought bitterly. He never wanted to be a lord in the first place. Edna appeared and asked if he was back, mentioning she heard he went into town. The Duke blamed her in his mind, thinking it's all her fault. He casually replied that he sent a messenger to the city and looked around the area. Edna said she had something to discuss, but then she suddenly stumbled. The Duke caught her and realized she had a fever. He scolded her gently, asking why she hadn't noticed her body was sick. He told her to take care of herself, explaining that overworking herself was foolish, not diligent. He urged her to go to bed before her fever worsened. Edna agreed softly, though she was confused. She thought to herself, is it because of the fever? Why do I feel like my head's going to burst? Raoul checked on her and noticed her fever had risen. Edna thanked him. Raoul then explained to the Duke that her exhaustion and the wound on her neck caused the fever to rise. He had applied an herb to treat the infection, so she should recover soon. The Duke coldly said pathetic, but acknowledged Raoul's work and dismissed him. After Raoul left, the Duke turned to Edna and complained. He had given her a night dress so she would rest, yet she wore an old dress he was going to throw out only to get sicker. He sighed, calling her a troublesome woman. Edna then told him that she had asked Raoul to clean the rooms for his soldiers. She assumed he wanted them to stay in the castle because they must be dear to him. She admitted she wanted to ask him first, but since he was away, she went ahead and arranged it. Nervously, she asked if that was all right. The Duke was stunned and said it was absurd. He called them just a bunch of people who were like family to him. Finally, with a deep sigh, he muttered, "Good grief. You truly are troublesome." The Duke noticed that Edna's fever seemed to have gone down. Well, at least that's over, he thought to himself. But now I've got another problem. Suddenly, soldiers rushed in. One of them cried, "Oh no," another shouted, "This isn't good. Call the Lord quickly." "My lord, urgent news," a soldier said as he bowed. "What is it?" the Duke asked sharply. Raoul stepped forward, panting. "There's a messenger from town. The levees by the riverbanks are. The rain won't stop anytime soon. It's become quite severe." The Duke's eyes narrowed. "Very well. I'll head down there. Prepare my horse. Also, the lady will be up soon. Get her medicine and breakfast ready." "Yes, my lord," Raoul said and hurried off. The Duke sighed deeply. Just then, Edna appeared. "Did something happen in the town?" she asked, concerned. The Duke turned to her, surprised. "You're up." "Yes," she replied softly. "Are you feeling any better?" he asked. "Yes, thanks to your consideration," she said with a slight smile, then quickly added, "More importantly, is there trouble in town? I overheard that the banks are in danger of overflowing due to the heavy rain." The Duke cursed inwardly. "Darn, she heard everything out loud," he said. "You still have a slight fever." Edna lowered her head. "Which is why you need to stay put and rest," the Duke instructed firmly. "Don't run out when you're sick and worry everyone like that again. Understand? Raoul will bring you your meals soon, so stay here." "I'll be visiting town for a bit." Edna nodded, But as he left, she thought to herself, worry them. He's right. I won't be able to help reinforce the banks in this state. But why? Why do I feel so restless? Meanwhile, the Duke rode toward the river, feeling his exhaustion weigh on him. Blast. It's difficult just trying to keep my eyes open. If the rain keeps pouring like this, then oh my lord, you're here, soldiers shouted as he arrived. What's the status? The Duke demanded. The bank is holding out for now, a soldier reported, but it's slowly being pushed back by the water current. At this rate, the levees will topple and the river will flood. Some of the weaker spots have already flooded. If we don't hurry, the reinforcements will burst any moment now. I understand, the Duke said, his voice calm but urgent. How should we handle the reinforcements? We need to fill more sacks and stack them up, the soldier explained quickly. Sand is best, but right now even stones, dirt, anything will be fine. We need to reinforce the levees to make them higher and wider, and we can't leave any cracks. All right, the Duke ordered. You head into town and gather as many more people as you can. Yes, sir, the soldier saluted and ran off. You too, the Duke commanded another pair, head to the castle and bring sacks and more hands to work. We'll also need to set up a camp as shelter from the rain. So, bring as many supplies as you can. Yes, sir, they responded and rushed to follow his orders. The Duke let out another weary breath. Duke said, "Hey, are those sacks ready yet? We're still filling them. Curse this rain. The current is getting stronger. We have to block off where the current starts turning first." Duke thought, it's been pouring down forever. At this rate, everyone's exhausted. Well, they have been working since early this morning. How long has it been since they started? Without the sun, it's hard to even tell what time it is now. I wonder if she's eaten yet. Edna said, it's getting late. Raoul asked Edna, are you worried? Edna replied, worried? Of course. The town might flood if the river overflows. And I'm sure none of them have eaten a proper meal yet. He didn't even eat his breakfast before he left. And now it's well past the afternoon. The rain is coming down heavier. I'm sure he's working hard despite his soaked clothes and hunger. Perhaps he's covered from head to toe in mud. Yet here I am. I'm pathetic, Raoul said. Pardon, Edna continued. Everyone, even the Lord, is working out there in the rain, and I'm here warm and eating a nice meal. I'm pathetic because I can't do anything to help when things are so critical right now, Raoul said. I've had this thought since we first met, madam. You are truly an odd one, my lady, Edna said. What? Raoul said. I've served quite a few nobles in my life while working at this castle, but you are the first one to always be looking for something to do and work on. What I mean to say is that people like you don't need to do anything. All you have to do is leave the work to servants like us. But you, madam, you clean, check the supplies yourself, and even ask about my day with a smile. This is the first time I've spoken with a noble while laughing. Nobles don't usually treat peasants like myself as people, Edna said. Raoul smiled and said, and I can only say all this since it's you, my lady. Any other noble would have chased me out for being disrespectful, my lady. No one will blame you for not being able to do something difficult. Just take your time. All you have to do is work on the things you can do for now. Don't get anxious. All right, Edna said. Sure, thank you, Edna thought. What I can do for now? A soldier shouted. Damn, it's overflowing. It's going to collapse. No, hold it up. If even one side falls, it's all over. Hold it. Hold on, please, another soldier said. It's failing, my lord. Duke said, sitting back and watching isn't really my thing. Edna continued thinking, what I can do. Edna said to Raoul, please gather all the new maids and send a message to town for all available women to come. We must prepare hot soup and tea, and we'll need a large carriage to transport. Oh, right. I can ride on a horse, Raoul said. Madam, surely you don't plan to go out there. Edna said, of course, I'm going to do what I can. A soldier said. Otto replied, yes, my lord. The Duke asked, what's the current status? The soldier replied, yes, things are wrapping up downstream. And we're going steady with the reinforcements upstream, but the current is quite strong, so we will need to continue working on them for the time being. The Duke said, very well. Send half of the workers downstream to assist with the work upstream. I'll head there now as well. The soldier said, yes, my lord. The Duke thought, they're at their limit. They had barely eaten a meal per day before yesterday. It's a miracle they're even standing right now. They're taking turns to rest, but that won't be enough. But it's not as though this can wait until tomorrow. A soldier shouted. Ah. Another soldier said, ah, the levee. The Duke said, what happened? The soldiers replied, my lord, the levee collapsed. We're so sorry. The rope we tied it with must have been too weak. It's over. It will all topple over before we can repair it again, the Duke said. Damn it, and we worked so hard. I can't take any more of this. Just then Edna arrived and said, are you just going to give up? This crack is only a small section along the entire bank. It's too soon to give up. This is the town you all live in. You must protect it with your own hands, a soldier said. My lady, Edna continued, you must be exhausted from all this work. We prepared hot tea and soup, so please rest a bit in the tents, and then once more we can all work hard to protect this town, the Duke said. Edna. Edna replied, Eli. The Duke said, when I speak, does it just sound like a barking dog to you? You crawled out here again, Edna said. Eli. The Duke said, did you already forget that you were sick in bed up until this very morning? Edna thought, he's completely covered in dirt and muck. The Duke said, what if your fever comes back? Edna thought. Even though he said that before, you've changed, Eli. Edna thought the situation still seemed grim even though so much time had passed. But for some reason, no one lost hope. The Lord and his people were standing shoulder to shoulder, working together to prevent the flood while enduring the fierce storm. That absurd fact gave strength to those who were exhausted. Eli was no exception. He openly gave words of encouragement to everyone now and then. The Duke said, don't give up. We're almost done now, Edna continued thinking, and somehow he felt a fire burning inside of him. He often felt that same fire when he served on the battlefield. Yet, he couldn't quite understand why he felt that way amongst the foolish townspeople at that moment. He couldn't understand. But a soldier said, the rain over there. Edna continued thinking, at that moment, he simply thought that he would never forget that feeling. The Duke said, Edna. Edna said, Eli, is the work finished now? The Duke responded, well, just about. There's no need to panic at least since the rain has stopped for now. I told them to rest for the afternoon, then finish up later. So now we should also return. I'd really enjoy a hot bath right about now, Edna said. Me too. The Duke said, I know what I said, but I didn't mean that I wanted to take a bath together. Edna replied, so what? We're married. The Duke said, feels turn. Edna thought, warm, just like the sunlight earlier. That was a magnificent scene. Status, gender, none of that mattered when everyone was covered in that mud while they were all fighting against the force called nature. But of course, whether you're a royal, noble, a commoner, or a peasant, we're all human. We stand on the same soil and live under the same heavenly sky. This heartbeat feels like a gentle breeze quaking through my entire body. I'm not doing this out of obligation. I truly wish. The Duke thought to be here until the very end with these people and with you. Edna mourning him. Edna thinking, the sun, it's not raining today. Did Eli leave early today as well? Oh, these bandages are new. Eli must have changed them before he left. He's been so busy since that day. The banks need to be reinforced while it's not raining. The rainy season usually lasts for 2 to 3 weeks, so we can't relax just yet. I want to check and see how things are going as well. But Duke said loudly, if you leave again, I'll punish Raoul. Raoul said, since he threatened me that way. And thinking inside, of course, I doubt he'd really punish Raoul. But Raoul's so scared of Eli, so I can't just go there on my own. Raoul said to Edna, Madam, are you awake now? Edna replied, Good morning, Raoul. Raoul said, Good morning, my lady. How are you feeling? Edna said, I feel fine now. Thank you for looking after me, Raoul. Raoul said, I'm relieved now that you're better. You must be hungry. I'll have your meal ready shortly. But first, Edna said, these are, Raoul replied, your dresses are all ready now. You're quite tall, so we fixed the length and size to suit you better, and we threw out the ones that were beyond fixing. Edna said, were they that bad? Anyhow, thank you. You're all so skilled, Raoul said. The Duke ordered them personally. He must have sensed that those dresses didn't complement your beauty at all. Although I would say those dresses are still far too plain even after mending, Edna said. Beauty, Raoul said, but of course, if I may say so, madam, you're the most beautiful among all the ladies I have ever served. I'm positive you'd even shine brighter than a jewel if you took your wardrobe more seriously. If you'd allow me, could I show you how after you've had your meal? Edna said, thank you, and thinking I've never really cared about my looks before. The women in the castle decorated themselves with jewels and dresses. Each of them sparkled like jewels. Although I viewed that shine as something superficial, I actually wanted to wear a pretty dress and shoes and stand in front of a mirror just like them. Duke said, are they done? Soldier said, yes. Crudely, but they should be enough to last us the season. Also about rebuilding the town, my lord. We lack the labor force and resources at the moment, but there is a flourishing forest and a quality mine within the territory. With your permission, we can hire men to begin working in them. However, we do not have enough money to pay the fees and wages, sir. Duke said, very well. Send a report on the estimated total cost of using the resources first. I'll decide after looking over that. Soldier said, yes, my lord. Duke said, oh, and one more thing. Watchtowers will be built at the borders. I will map out the locations, add the expenses for the watchtowers in your report as well. Soldier said, of course, my lord. Duke thinking, one thing after another. This territory sure is full of trouble. My men shall arrive a few days from now. Once I have them here to carry out my orders, I'll be able to relax more. When they arrive, I'll have them guard the east border that's currently run down. Count Pitt's territory is just past the east border. He's probably the one behind those who pillaged and burned this land. He pretends to follow Cadence's orders, but he's always wanted Westfield. There's no way he'd be happy with me here. That old fart. Don't dare expect me to let you run wild as you see fit. Count Pitt. Two people quietly watched the Duke. One of them said, he left right. The second replied, yeah, looks like it. The first person said, that damned Eli. I was afraid he noticed us when he suddenly headed this way. My heart almost stopped. The second said, well, he does have keen senses. The first person said, he used to stay in the castle all day. What made him come all the way out here into the woods? The second person said, looked like he was marking something on a map. He's probably inspecting the land. It's just as Count Pulet had said. The first person said, right, he's no fool and won't be leaving anytime soon. Darn it. I'm all covered in dirt now. The first person thought to himself, how dare that wretch make me crawl around on the ground like this? He's just a filthy commoner. That's right. He's all alone out here without any of his men. I'd like to see if he's really the strongest man in the kingdom. The second person said to Sir Maud, you mustn't, Sir Maud. Count Pitt said, we must avoid making any direct contact with Eli. I trust you haven't forgotten, Maud replied. Who do you think I am? Those were my father's orders. Of course I wouldn't forget. A commoner is still a commoner no matter what he does. Don't think you can just walk in here and act like a lord, you lousy peasant. Have your men find out what Eli's up to. Also, find out if he has any weaknesses. For example, something that he cares for deeply. Come to think of it, didn't Eli get married recently? Find out what you can about that wife of his. I'll make sure you learn your place. Later, Edna said, Eli, you're home early today. The Duke replied, yeah, all the bank reinforcements are almost done. So, I inspected the land for a bit, then came back. But more importantly, what are you doing? Edna said, oh this. The Duke said, if it starts raining again, we won't be able to do the laundry for a while. It's a bit cloudy, but there's a good breeze. Edna said, Raoul did say I should rest, you know. But I didn't listen to her. The Duke said, it's fine. I didn't expect you to stay still anyway. Your hair, Edna said. Raoul did it for me. Does it look bad? The Duke said, no. Edna said, huh? The Duke asked, would you like to go pay a visit to town? Edna said, to town. Of course, the Duke said, there's still some time left before the sun sets, and like you said, we won't be able to do much once it starts raining again. Edna said, sure. I'll just finish this last one. Edna thought, did he just try to change the subject? The Duke also thought, why did I change the subject like that? I could have just said, no, that style really suits you. It's pretty, that's all I had to say. What's so hard about that? Kian said. Looks like we're almost at the end of this blasted forest. How many days did we ride? My body's aching all over. Well, it's still nothing compared to how it was back on the battlefield, I guess. The servant said to Kian. Kian, we can see the town now. Kian said, we're finally here. See you soon, Commander. They've already started rebuilding the town on their own, Eli. The sound of horses echoed, followed by loud, lively voices chattering. Edna thought, that's definitely, she suddenly shouted, Leia. Eli, why are you suddenly? Edna noticed Eli smiling, looking so excited. Oh, now I see. The sound of galloping filled the air and a cloud of dust rose. Duke said, people who are like family to me. Hey everyone, look over there, Edna called out. One of the soldiers spotted the Duke and shouted, it's him. It's the commander. Commander, commander, others joined in, cheering loudly. You idiots, quit calling him that. He's our lord now, someone scolded, but another soldier yelled again, Commander. Welcome, everyone, the Duke greeted them. You made it sooner than I expected, a soldier replied. I thought it would take at least 2 or 3 more days. Well, we were so curious about our new home. My butt's about to crumble away after riding for so long. By the way, he paused, noticing Edna. Might that beautiful lady there be? The Duke said. Oh, allow me to introduce her to you. This is my wife, Edna. Edna smiled and said, pleasure to meet all of you. My name is Edna. Welcome to Westwald, a villager said. You must be exhausted after such a long journey. Wow, your residences are ready in the castle, so please rest inside. Kian whispered, Mfaden, did you see that? Mfaden replied, yes, as clear as day with my own eyes. Edna, she says, how can this be? Her name, her gender, they're all different. But that face is without a doubt. People said to the Duke that this is where you'll be staying for the winter, and the servants here will show you to your rooms. Before that, allow me to formally introduce her to you again. The Duke told them, this is my wife, Edna. She is the lady of this castle, and you'll be serving her as well. So, you do well to remember that. Edna, these are my men who risked their lives with me in battle, he added. They're all very capable, so you should remember them as well. First off, Philly and Philine. They're twins and are both excellent archers. This is Chris. He's great with a sword and a whip. Those men are Mark and Shane. They're strong and handle their swords well. Mfaden is my right-hand man. Mfaden said, it is my honor to make your acquaintance. The Duke continued and introduced Khan, who said he was honored to meet her. Lady Edna replied that she was delighted to meet them all and hoped they would serve the Lord well in Westfield and be of great help. The Duke said that if they were done, they should get going now since they must be tired. And Ida said, very well. The Duke then reminded them to treat the servants and people in town with proper manners and warned that if he heard anything disgraceful, they would be punished with severe lashings. The servant answered, yes, sir, and the soldiers reacted in shock, shouting, wait, what? Whoa. Did he really just say that? Phaeton hushed them, saying, don't be so loud. That's a given. We're not at war anymore. Another soldier remarked that it was the first time the Lord would care about other people like that. And someone else agreed that the Duke had been so nice to the lady. One soldier gushed that to think the Lord would treat a lady so sweetly might be the power of love. Edna sighed inwardly, feeling exhausted. Ken and Phaeton seemed familiar to her for some reason. And although she kept to herself, she still had to make occasional appearances. If they were strong knights, she might have met them in the palace. But with Prince Eden officially dead and her no longer a man, she worried that if their suspicions led to rumors, she could even lose her life. She noticed Roel had worked hard and that it didn't look comfortable. The Duke then asked how it was after going through the town, and Edna replied, pardon. The Duke observed that everything seemed much better and more lively, and Edna noted they'd have to distribute a lot of currency for businesses to recover. The Duke explained the restoration head said they needed to use the mine, but there was no money to pay wages or fees. He had asked for a report and said they couldn't just hand out money for free or they would go bankrupt. Acknowledging the land was vast and resources limited, he said he considered a plan. What if they gave out loans? They discussed that lending money wasn't a bad idea, but the people had nothing to use for collateral and couldn't afford loans even at low or no interest. In normal circumstances, that would be true. But in Westfield, the Duke suggested there was another option. Edna said that in their case, they'd have to put their lives down as collateral. Duke said, use their lives. What's gotten into you? That sounds so cold and not like you at all. Edna said, I'm not saying we should actually kill them or torture them as punishment. What's important in this case is that you're their lord, not Westfield itself. Even if you don't establish a law or threaten them personally, they'll naturally assume they could lose their lives if they don't pay back the loans to you. Duke said, good point. Since I'm just the merciless butcher to them, Edna said, to be honest, I'd rather not resort to taking advantage of their fear of you. But fear can be an effective tool at times, so we must make use of it for now. Duke thought, well, it's a good idea. They're all cowards who get frightened if I so much as blink. They wouldn't dare dream of running out on a loan from me, but more importantly, one thing is clear after this conversation, Duke said. Edna replied, yes. Duke said, from now on, you should stop managing the land. Just take care of things within the castle. Edna said, what? You said you would give me all the rights as your duchess. Are you saying you're going to take all of that away again? Duke said, huh? I suppose you might feel that way, but I'm saying this for your own good. As I told you, my men are very capable, and that's not limited to just their physical strength. They at least have enough wit to save their necks in battle. Do you think they'll believe you were some maid after hearing your suggestions? It would be more believable to tell them you're a hidden child of a fallen noble house. Edna thought, I know he's trying to protect me. He already doesn't believe I was just a maid of the Viscount. Yet he's going to pretend that he also doesn't know. I know. What he's proposing is more reasonable. But if I do that, how am I any different from Eden? My mother only wished to protect me in the beginning. But how did that turn out? I've earned my life as Edna after making so many sacrifices. And I won't let this chance pass by. Edna said, I won't give up. I won't stay hidden away in this castle. I will remain in Westfield and with you, even if it costs me my life. Don't force me to live such a humiliating life. Duke laughed, haha. You're always so predictable. Very well, I give. It's my fault for trying to force you to take the easy way out. Do as you like. No matter what anyone says, I will protect you. Edna said, then can you take an oath as a knight that you'll keep your word to me? Duke thought, what have we here? Edna thought, I have no idea what that was. A knight's oath? Did I go too far? Isn't something a former maid would be able to bring up so easily? I was just so angry. Duke thought, well, actually, it's not like I really care, but I don't feel like doing it for nothing. Duke said, you will, in return. You must agree to a request of my own. How about it? Edna said, oh, okay. Roll said, my lady, will this really be all right? Edna said, yes, it's fine. Don't worry, Roll. It should be fine. Duke said, is it that surprising? Edna said, and then, my hair. Duke said, that hair. You dyed it on purpose, right? Edna said, huh? Why, yes, because my real hair stood out too much. I don't like it. Duke said, cut off all of the hair you dyed. Edna said, but my hair is already quite short for a lady. If I cut all of this, Edna thought, this is bad. If I cut off all the dyed ends, my hair will be the same length as when I was Eden. I was too careless. I should have listened to what he wanted in exchange first, but he already gave me his word as a knight. Duke said, what are you so afraid of? Whatever your past, you are a duchess now. Didn't you once say that yourself? Don't hide anymore. There's no need for that. I vow to you, Edna thought, yes, I believe you. But it's not death I fear anymore. If my identity were to get revealed, and if you were to get hurt because of that, just thinking about it pains me. So is this pain from guilt? Duke said, did you all get a good night's sleep? I gathered you all here this morning to make one thing clear. I trust you were somewhat confused yesterday since I introduced my wife to you as Edna and not Anna. She's an illegitimate child of Viscount William. That's correct. She isn't Anna, Mfaten shouted, and you just accepted that after such an insulting game of trickery? That vile Viscount, not only did he insult you, but he insulted the king as well. But then why on earth? Duke said. Why, you ask? Because I love Edna. I'm sure it will be hard for you to understand now, but she's a wise and gentle woman far more than any other woman in this world. I guarantee you all will grow to love her once you come to know her better. One of the men raised his hand. Excuse me. Sorry for interrupting, sire, but about Lady Edna being a bastard. Actually, Philly and I sort of already knew about that. Duke said, "What?" The man continued, "Those who traveled with us in the carriages probably don't know. But Philly and I often went into towns for supplies. The rumors have already spread throughout the cities about a bastard of Viscount William going to Westfield of her own selfish desire to become a duchess, while Lady Anna lies sick in bed." Duke said, "Then men, here are the tasks I have for you. Kian, take Philly and Fillion to guard Chester Forest in the east. We'll need more time to rebuild the watchtowers, so it's best to increase patrol in that area for now. Mfaden, train the soldiers in this castle." A soldier said, "My lord," Duke said. Mfaden said, "Forgive me, but do you plan to let the lady manage the territory as well? It's not an easy task for someone who grew up as a disgraced child. Also, you shouldn't just ignore those rumors Phil mentioned." Duke said, "Those are only rumors." Mfaden said, "Do you have any proof?" "If those rumors are true," Duke said, "proof?" Well, it's just a hunch." Mfaden said, "A hunch, you say? Please do not take this sort of matter lightly. This land is already in such a frail state. What will you do if the lady has ulterior motives? Also, such vulgar rumors about the lady will affect the trust the people and your men have for you. Moreover, I do not wish for you to be wed to such lowly tainted blood. Do not forget that you have noble blood of your own." Duke said, Mfaden, aren't you a bit mistaken about something?" Mfaden said, "Pardon?" Duke replied, "As it stands, I am merely a commoner who happened to be bestowed with the title of Duke. I'm no better in terms of royalty or nobility. The man with noble blood you speak of has been dead for quite some time now. That's something you're fully aware of, Mfaden. And I trust my instincts. Edna is not someone who would plot to betray me. However, you're probably not alone in your suspicions. Send men into the city. Find the source of those rumors and the truth. Perhaps then you will all understand better. However, if I hear anything about her being of low blood or the like before that investigation ends, I will take it as an insult to the Duchess and personally cut that person's tongue clean from their mouth. See to it the other men are made aware of that as well. Is that clear?" Mfaden said, "Yes, my lord." Duke thought, "This is rather troublesome. Even without an investigation, it's obvious Viscount William spread those rumors. I don't care if Caden hears about it, but it won't be easy to quiet the people once they hear of such things. Well, Westfield hasn't traded with any other lands recently. I'll have to order the men to keep their mouths shut." Duke said, "Edna, have you eaten?" Edna said, "Oh, you've returned. You left so early. I'm sure you haven't had a proper meal yet. I'll send word to have it ready shortly. Is it too short? I had to cut off a lot more than I expected." "I suppose I look like a man now." Duke said, "No, it suits you very well. I don't mind the length. I just wanted to see your true color. You really have a beautiful color like sunlight."